Life advice from a maths and science teacher. Hello everybody, today I wanted to give you guys a quick piece of advice about life. And you guys know I don't really like to give advice, but the thing is, there's one thing I have to say in all areas of teaching, and I now teach like basically every subject. It's crazy. As in like the main core 5 subjects. Yeah, I basically teach all of them now. It's insane. So now I don't know how many subjects I've taught now in my life. I'm nearing like 10 subjects, but anyway, not important. And there's one piece of advice as a maths and science teacher in particular that I always have to give, even in English, even in whatever else, and it's the same thing. And honestly, the fact that this is what I have to say, no matter the age, no matter the level, no matter whether it's children or adults, says a lot. And I'm going to tell you guys what that advice is. This is what I literally have said today. I've had like, how many lessons? 4. I've had 4 classes today. 2 year 7 classes. One was year 8 class, one was year 11. Although the year 11 class wasn't maths, the year 11 class was chemistry. And that is this. Slow down. Take your time. Do it one step at a time. One step at a time. It's really interesting to me that, like, as a teacher, you know, and the way I teach is a bit unconventional. I always explain that to both the people who hire me to work for them, but also the people who I work with privately through my own business, that like my lessons are unconventional. And one of the unconventional things about my lessons is I do the questions that the students have to do at the same time they're doing them. Even though I'm the one who makes them, I don't necessarily know exactly what the answer is going to be. Although I do usually have the answers separately, but I try to I'd not look at them because I like to immerse myself in the process with the students so I can visualize not just how they're supposed to do it properly, but also be in the moment with them. But also, I'll do it properly as I know it needs to be done so I can compare with how they're doing it, right? So one thing that I find a lot of the time that happens is a lot of kids will rush ahead, right? They'll get the answer wrong, they'll panic and whatever, and they'll finish before I finish in the question. Because I'm taking the proper steps, I'm slowing down. Bearing in mind, I still get through these questions really quickly. But the point is, they can become so obsessed with the answer that they're not going through the process properly. They become so fixated on, oh, I think I know what I have to do. Especially that really, like, a lot of kids who are really intelligent do this a lot. I was exactly like that at school. That's why I know. I was the same kid who like would be at a certain point in my life, I'd have an exam, it'd be an hour and a half. I'd be done in 40 minutes. I feel like I've answered everything. I feel like I've done well. I'll be sitting there twiddling my thumbs for the rest of the time. Or to find out that I've made like 10 silly mistakes. 5 of the questions I read incorrectly, yada, yada, yada. And I've got not as many marks as I thought I had. The game-changing moment for me, and it was an internal decision that I made, believe it or not, at the when I was 15, and it was, I'm going to take my time, and I'm going to do it properly. So I decided, and this is my exam strategy, by the way, that I teach the kids. I'm giving you guys free game here. Exam strategy is this. First of all, you read through the entire paper. Go through the questions you know how to do first. Do them properly. Take your time. Boom. Afterwards, go back through the paper. You read the whole paper so you know what's there, so you don't waste time on things you're not sure about. Start with the things you're comfortable with. Do them properly. Do them well. Go back and then go through the questions in the order of the ones you find the least difficult to the most difficult. Then go back through the paper again and double check everything you've already done. Then go back through the paper again, and now anything you haven't still done, because I say if you don't know how to do something, skip it for now and come back to it. Don't waste time sitting there breaking your mind. That's why the secret of reading through the whole paper first is a trick, because you might be sitting there on like a 2-mark question, overthinking and like having veins popping out of your forehead. Meanwhile, there's like a 6-mark question you can actually do. So that's why we read through the whole paper at first. So then when you go back through it again for like, I think it's like maybe the 3rd time now you address the questions that you don't know how to do. This is the only point in time ever where not even then. When you go back through, you then go and do your calculations again. So whatever calculations you've done, I don't care if it says 2 times 3 in the middle of a complex question, do it again. Then After that, then you go back through and you go to the questions you don't know how to do, and you make not a guess, but what I always teach my students, an educated suggestion. As in, don't just pull something out of nowhere, and don't just say what sounds right. Find at least some little piece of something in the question that you think is logical. And then at that point, if you still have time after having done all of those steps, this is the only ever time you guess. But anyway, that's just my quick little tidbit of how you're supposed to attack an exam. Anyways, I developed it for myself. Lo and behold, I went from getting whatever grade I got before, I got 97% in that maths exam. That was what I did. I took my time. I was writing until like the last couple of minutes of the exam, that exact process I just told you guys about. I just forged that in my mind at 15. Who knows how, but praise Jesus. And yeah. Why am I mentioning this? Because I've realized that as society and as people, right, and the way that the world has been built and made and how we live, it's so like everything is a rush. Everything is like the anxiety of getting things right the first time, the anxiety of getting straight to the answer. Everybody's obsessed with that. And I see that with the kids, like they have such an anxiety about getting things wrong that they don't give themselves enough time to get things right. And like, that's what I'm saying is happening in society. Like, I'm like, look, so what if you say the wrong answer the first time or the second time or the third time? As long as you're thinking logically, taking your time. The amount of times I say, okay, guys, let's take a deep breath. We'll take a deep breath. We go off on a tangent, right? Because I take them off on a tangent. When they start to panic, we go off on a tangent, right? And I do it on purpose. Why? To settle their minds, take their time. While they're busy like this, stressed about the answer, stressed about how they feel, oh no, what if I get it wrong? What if I this? What if you're definitely not going to get the answer right there in that state. You need to come down to a calm state, and you need to be able to breathe and go through it step by step. And that's why I do the questions with them, so that I can show them, this is how I calculate this as somebody who's far more qualified than you are, right? So why do you feel the need to rush? And why are you rushing? That's incorrect. You know what I'm saying? That's why you're having an issue. And that's what happens. They rush through the questions, and then because their brain's going at 100 million miles, then just like as a computer, if a computer that's got too many tabs open, eventually you might crash, right? You didn't take your time. You didn't go step by step. Take your time. Go step by step. If you're not sure, go back through, check again. Follow logical steps. It's crazy how much that my job I spend saying that. Kids will give me an answer. What's your answer? Because I don't tell them. One thing I don't do is I don't tell them if their answer is right or wrong. I just ask them about it. Because if they can't give me a reason, then I'm like, I don't care if I don't tell them if their answer is right. If they don't have a reason why it is, and they just guess, they were just panicking, I'm not gonna honor that, because that's not gonna help them. That's why people struggle with things like maths and all of this, because it's like this like obsession with the answer. It's like we don't know what the answer is going to be. We have to go on the journey. And that's what I'm saying about life. Life is the same thing. You don't always know. This is why I love the Bible, how the Bible works. So I say the Bible and science and maths and everything, for me, all works together. When God sent out Abraham, God was like, Abraham, go. And God's like, go where? He's like, where I'm telling you to go. And Abraham's like, go to where are you telling me to go? He's like, where I'm telling you to go. He's like, okay, well, where is that? He's like, just go. And he's like, go where? Where I'm telling you to go. And well, where is I'm telling you to go? Where I'm telling you to go. To where? Because where I'm telling you to go. Just go. Like, just start. Start. Don't worry so much about the answer. Don't worry so much about exactly where you're going to get to. Start with where you're at and work with what you have right now. That's the secret of algebra. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know what the answer is going to look like. You don't know what the answer is going to be. What you do know is the information you have now. And the information you have now, if you actually focus on that, instead of obsessing over the endpoint, you can actually figure out what you need to do with what you have right now. So that's the point. What I'm trying to say is the life advice element. Sometimes we as humans, right? Because I see it with the kids, and I believe that's why people struggle with these subjects, and I believe that's why adults are the way they are. It's this huge obsession and like almost anxiety of, I need to know the answer and I need to get to the answer the first time. I need to have everything out and I need to figure everything out and I need to get it perfect the first time. There's no room for mistakes. There's no room for whatever. Majority of my job is actually creating a space where the children feel safe enough to make mistakes, to get things wrong. That's majority of my job. The majority of my job is creating a safe space. Like, okay, I don't care. And I tell them all the time, listen, I don't care if it takes you 100 times. I care that you have thought about it properly. You've taken your time, you understand it, and you can explain to me why you can do it. And you know what's crazy? When they get to that point where they can actually do it, they become like their brain becomes like a self-sustaining machine where I don't have to tell them if they're right or wrong. I don't have to tell them what to do. They follow the process. They take their time. If they didn't follow logical steps, they can see why they didn't. If they make a mistake, they can clearly figure out what the mistake is by themselves without me having to say anything, and then correct it by themselves. And then it's like, I'm not even needed. They're like a self-sustaining machine at that point. And it's incredible to see. And like, that's what makes me think that like, as the adult population, I don't think that the children are any different to adults. I think the children are just in a stage that everybody is at that we never actually graduate from as adults, which is when you focus too much on the answer, when you focus too much on the solution, sometimes you don't take the logical steps to get there. That's why people struggle in exams. Can I tell you why people struggle in exams? I'll tell you guys now. Let me give you an example, right? So in the school system, you are taught in such a way that learn information and try to learn it off by heart. Like, don't have a reason, don't have an understanding, don't have anything. I'm going to give you guys an example that we used today in one of my lessons, right? So, for example, you could be asked, explain how, what the question could simply say something like, what is the smallest I don't know, alkane, okay? So alkanes, hydrocarbons, right? The question says, explain the smallest alkane. So you remember, okay, I remember that the formula for all alkanes is blah, 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 blah. Now, what happens if you don't remember the formula? Oh, you're screwed. However, if you have an understanding of atoms and you truly understand what it means to be an atom and what it means for carbon to have 4 electrons in its outer shell, then you can say, oh, if it's a hydrocarbon and hydrogen is bonding with carbon and carbon has 4 electrons in its outer shell and hydrogen has 1, and because carbon has got 4, it's not more likely to lose or gain, it's going to share. And if it's going to share with hydrogen and it's got 4 outer electrons and each hydrogen has 1, that means there's going to be 4 of them. And carbon, just 1 carbon is the smallest. Oh, all of a sudden, I now know that carbon, and obviously, guys, I'm racing ahead. This is like if you already understand all this stuff, but you get the gist. The difference between you being able to go all the way back to the root and understand from a scientific perspective to being told something and just trying to learn some type of thing. And that's what I'm saying in life is like, you have to take the time to delve deeper and to understand, like in every area of your life, you have to take the time, like with yourself, with your own emotional health and trauma. This is why I don't subscribe to being like, diagnosed with any type of anything. Now, I will preface this by saying I've had psychiatric evaluations more than once, which I have volunteered for all of them, just to say. I have literally there's only one maybe that I didn't technically volunteer for, right? And every time I've come out with nothing. Honestly, I believe I'm too intelligent to be considered, like, and when I say intelligent, I mean, like, I can explain myself. So it's like, I'm highly self-aware. So it's kind of like, I know what my strengths and weaknesses are, you know what I mean? So it's not like anything's happening that I'm not aware of. Like, I'm aware of it. So I think like sometimes when people have tried to tell me, oh, you seem like you got ADHD. Oh, you seem like you're autistic. Oh, you seem like this. Oh, you seem like that. And I'm like, I get where you're coming from, but like just my personality type, again, because I go back and I take a breath and I say, okay, I've done this. I behave in this manner. Why have I behaved like this? And where did that come from? What was the root cause? Let me take a couple of steps back. Rather than just trying to rush to the solution, like, oh, let's just diagnose me and let's just have a reason. why is that? Where did that come from? Is there a reason why that was happening? And is there a way I can understand? That's how I deal with my own personal mental health. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, I see something in myself that I think is ugly. And before I go off to go and find a way to explain it, I go to find why I think it took place in the first place, right? That's what I'm talking about. You have to go back, you have to take your time, you have to digest things slowly, and you have to address each step as it comes, and you have to, every step you take, you should be sure as to why you took it. So that's why I quiz my students on the questions. When they give me an answer, I told them, I don't care about, my kids know, I don't care about the answer. I care about how you got there, and I care to hear you explain to me with your words or with your working out how you got there. So when they give me an answer, I'm like, okay, cool. That's cool. I don't tell them if it's right or wrong. Well, how did you get there? Not good enough. So you, oh, well, I thought this and I was kind of thinking this, but then I thought there's no way. Stop. Slow down. Think a little bit longer and tell me a new answer. And that's usually what I do in my lessons. Majority of the time, what I do is that. Take a breather. I'll literally be like, let's take a deep breath together. Breathe in and out. Do a couple of times. Okay. Let's try that again. Go again. Then they'll ask me, and it's a funny thing that I do, they'll be like, is my question right? I'm like, you tell me. Is it right? You tell me. And you might think that's an annoying thing to be asked, but you know what's funny? They always can answer it. They always, with a bit of extra time, with a bit of extra, and this is one thing that I think that because of the nature of my life and the things I've been through, I spend a lot of time by myself. So I spend a lot of time on like just thinking and self-reflection. Like I spend at least 2 to 4 hours every single day just purely on thinking alone, let alone anything else. Specifically just on thinking about everything, but in particular also myself and how I need to improve and what the Lord has shown me about myself that I need to improve, because of course the Holy Spirit is our teacher, just like how I'm teaching these kids, the Holy Spirit is my teacher, so it's like I spend that time just thinking and stopping to think, because one thing that I've noticed, and it's one of the things that I find that makes me feel like my job as a teacher sometimes is a waste of time, is I don't know who or what it is. I'm still trying to figure this out. But the children seem to have this understanding that they have to rush and get to the end point so fast. But the thing is, right, and this is what always happens. When I get to the point where, we can eventually get to the stage where, you understand that rushing isn't helping anything. Whatever. What will happen is they might take initially half an hour to do a question. But eventually, in that same hour, so let's say the lesson, the lesson is an hour, right, for the kids or whatever. Initially, it might take them half an hour to do one question. Other teachers would be like, it's taking you too long, you don't know what you're doing. And this is what I realized. A lot of the reason why they're so anxious and they can't do it is the anxiety of others. And I get that, because that's how I felt in my life as well. That's how I felt this year, actually. Like, just this pressure from other people. And I learned to shut it out and eventually. But this pressure from others is like trying to judge how long something's taking you to do. And I say to kids, listen, there's no rush as far as I'm concerned. Take as long as you need. Take it, because I know that even if it takes them half an hour and they think that half an hour is wasted, at the start of the lesson, it will take them 30 minutes to do one question. Because I'm not telling them the answer. I'm not giving them something to learn that they may forget. Because that's why I don't believe in the memory thing. You might forget the answer. If you could learn something off by heart, but you might forget tomorrow. There's songs that I know, I used to know every single lyric to, and because I haven't sung them in years, I don't know the lyrics. That was just memory. There's a difference between memory and understanding. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I'm a big believer in understanding, critical thinking, logical thinking. So 30 minutes that might take them initially. But in that 30 minutes, they've tried guessing. It hasn't worked out because I haven't allowed it. They've tried rushing. It hasn't worked out. Haven't allowed it. I'm not telling them whether the answer is right or wrong. I'm just waiting for them to give me a reason. That's all they know. They don't know if they've got me. They could have said the right answer first time. For all they know. I'm not telling them until they can tell me an answer and a reason, and they can defend their answer. And then I will critique their answer when they ask me, you said you did this. Why did you do this and not that? Why did you do this and not that? Whatever. After that 30 minutes, they got the answer. I'm like, you're correct. Boom. I promise you, in that rest of that half hour, they can burn through 30 questions now. Because they now have the understanding. They took the time they needed to understand what they needed to do. And now they can do it properly. And now they do it from a place of understanding. And now it doesn't matter what question in that topic that they come across, they know what to do. And that's what I'm saying about life for us and what's to be learned from maths and as a math teacher, is that taking your time when you need to take your time, you don't lose time. You actually gain time. Because what people don't think about, and this is what I say to the students all the time, you in rushing, you in having anxiety about getting straight to the answer, make 100 mistakes doing that, which costs extra time. So the first time you guessed, it was wrong. The second time you said what you thought sounded right, but you didn't have a reason, that was wrong. The third time you did it halfway, but then you decided to kind of give up and just try and shortcut it, and then you made a stupid mistake again. That's to make whatever time. So by the time you've done all the silly mistakes, and the fact is, I'm the one who's giving them another chance. Because some people just write them off. Some people write them off the first time for making a mistake. Some people write them off the second time, but like, oh, you can't do it because you didn't get it the first time. Oh, I'm a different kind of teacher, right? Had they just taken the time the first time, in terms of, if you were to compare the amounts of time, and I tell the kids, because I calculate the time and I tell them, I'll be like, it took you, when you were rushing, doing things your way, 10 minutes to get to the right answer. When I told you to take a breather, take a break, it took you 3 minutes. So even if you think the 3-minute method takes longer, because it sounds like that in your head, that's an illogical logic in your mind. Because actually, yes, you thought rushing was going to get you somewhere, and you may have got your first answer in 1 minute, but then you had to spend another 3 minutes to still get the wrong answer. You spend another 6 minutes to get the wrong answer. So it took you 10 minutes, and you still had the wrong answer, but taking your time the first time would have given, with 3 minutes, you would have got there. That's my advice. It's like, take your time, take a breather. Like, there's a reason why the Bible says, do not be anxious for tomorrow, because tomorrow will be anxious for itself. Like, don't worry about tomorrow. Worry about right now. Worry about this moment. Worry about what we're doing here and now. So I say to the kids, it's like, don't listen, just do your best. Don't worry about the time. I'll worry about the time. I'll worry about how long anything is taking. Unless I'm telling you that you're taking too long, don't say anything. And I'm never going to. You know why? Because like what I just said, and it literally happens exactly as I just said. Initially, it'll take 30 minutes, because it will take 30 minutes. In the 30 minutes that it will take for the first time for them to get the questions correct, it's not that they couldn't do it. That 30 minutes is the 30 minutes it takes for them to shift their mindset from, I'm going to guess, I'm going to obsess of getting straight to the answer, I'm going to whatever. Once they overcome that and they just think purely logically, I'm not saying a lot. I'm not explaining a lot. Like I said, I'm not even telling them whether their first answer was right or wrong. I'm not telling them their answer is right or wrong until they give me an answer. Until they give me an explanation that makes sense. When I hear the right explanation, yeah, you're right. Well done. Good stuff. Right? And then once they have that and they've tapped into that, all of a sudden everything becomes quicker. And that's the truth of life and wisdom. And that's my life advice to everybody, is like, take your time, take a breather. Like, one thing I can say as somebody who's lived in, I've lived in Africa, I've lived in the UK, I've lived in the US. One thing I notice about traveling, the first thing I notice when I get off a plane in any country, right, and I've been to many countries, is the speed at which society is moving. And one thing about the West, I have to say, is the West moves so quickly. Everybody's so quick to be doing everything. Everything has to move so fast. Like when the last time I went to Africa, right, I was in Zimbabwe. I remember getting off the airplane, and I remember immediately, and it's the same 24 hours, but that 24 hours feels like 36 in comparison to 24 hours here. Everyone's still doing everything they need to do. Time is still moving as it is, but it just felt slower. And because it felt slower, like there's a thing about being in the West where we just rush ahead and we just always have this expectation to be at this level all the time, 100% of the time. And it's just unrealistic. It's unrealistic and it's not helpful. That's what I'm saying. It works for some things, but when we're starting to go to the more important things in this life, And the more complex things, it's like what I say to the students. They'll be trying to do all the work in their heads, right? Go, 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 in their mind. And I'll be saying to them, you need to write out what you're doing. You need to write out what's in your mind on the piece of paper. And they don't understand it because they're like, but I can just do it in my head. And I'm like, but you doing it in your head is overloading your brain system. Write it down, right? Whatever you know, write it down. Because then your brain doesn't have to remember what you know. Your brain only has to think about what you don't know. Because what you do know is in front of you. So the pressure on your brain is less. That's why I don't find things like algebra and all these topics stressful. Because other people will be trying to calculate all this stuff in their head. I'll be doing this. You'll see me doing this. Because everything that I know, I'll be writing. So the only thing my brain is thinking ever is the thing that I don't know. Not the things that I do know. See what I'm saying? It's like this race to like, I have to just somehow just like, let me just think through to get straight to the answer. No. You go through the steps. Okay, I got this, and then I do 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 this. That's life. In life, we don't always know like exactly how something's going to turn out, or exactly how we don't always have the answer. Sometimes we're like Abraham, like the Lord says, go out, go where I'm telling you to go, you go. It's like when you start an algebraic question, you don't know what the answer is going to be, but you start with what you have and you keep going. That reminds me of the song that I wrote, you guys. The winning team anthem. Crazy. You know what I mean? You keep going. You keep just going. And you keep trying until you get somewhere. And then as the more you go, the more you start to see why you were supposed to be doing what you were supposed to be doing. And then the more that you see why you're supposed to be doing, you understand what you need to do next. That's exactly how it works in maths and science. It's the exact same thing. You just follow what you're supposed to do. You start with what you have. Like, this is literally what the Lord says. This is what, like people talk about, like the parable of the talents and all this stuff in the Bible. God is always asking us to just start with what we have. Like, whatever you have. He's like, whatever you have right now, you just start with that and that alone. Don't worry so much about the end goal. Like, I remember before I started YouTube, and it's crazy to think about now, that like, I used to think with YouTube, I would think like, oh, I want to start YouTube. And I'd be like researching all of these ways I could like buy a camera, like a proper YouTube camera. I'm looking at the Sony G7X that all the YouTubers have and all of this, right? And then a day came where it was like, how about just buy a tripod and just like record on your phone? Imagine I never did that. Like, imagine I never just decided to buy a tripod and just start recording on my phone instead. I would never have had all the experiences that I've had. I would not be the woman I am today. I would never have met you guys. You guys have been so pivotal. And the only reason why I'm here is because I'm here thinking about the answer. I'm here thinking, I don't know how to edit videos. I'm horrible at editing. I don't have a camera. I don't have this, that, and the other. And God's like, start with what you have right now. Do with what you have right now. And just keep going with that until you can. You know? And that's what happened. Lo and behold. And then along the way, somebody gifted me this here device that I'm recording my videos on. Somebody gifted this to me for free. For free. And it changed the game for me with YouTube, actually. Made it a lot easier for me to record. And I didn't know that was going to happen. This is what I'm saying. It's the same thing like I say with algebra. You don't know where it's going. You think, well, this doesn't make sense. I don't know how this is going to do anything. It's like, don't worry about how it's going to do anything. Just start with what you have. What can you do with what's in front of you? Oh, I can do this. Do that. Okay, you've done that. What can you do this? Okay, what can you do that? Do that. Before you know it, you have an answer. And then, they always go, like, oh. It's always the, oh. As in, like, I couldn't visualize the answer, but now I'm here. Yeah. Welcome to algebra, baby. Welcome to maths. Welcome to science. Welcome to God. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I'm trying to tell you guys. So that's my advice for the day, is like, as a maths and science teacher, like today is one of my favorite days. I love Mondays. Monday was always the day when I never did lessons, because Monday's the day I like to do admin, but whatever. It's the season of doing whatever I need to do, the Lord tells me to do. But anyway, and I love Mondays because I have like a lot of different kinds of lessons, a lot of different kinds of kids, and it's really fun, and I leave feeling rejuvenated. And today, in every single lesson I had, the number one thing I was telling the kids was to slow down and take their time. They had some kind of understanding that rushing ahead was going to get them to where they wanted to be. That was their mental understanding. They always do. I do think part of it comes from society and part of it comes from parents and other teachers, where it's like they make it seem like you're taking so long to do stuff. And I'm like, don't worry about how long it takes you in the beginning, because once it clicks, you'll be done in seconds. That's why I can do algebraic equations in seconds. I remember even when I was in school, right? And I this is going to sound so crazy when I say this. When I was in school, it was my maths teacher herself. Miss Howarth, shout out to Mrs. Howarth. She was incredible. And she has more than inspired the way that I teach maths, because she always used to teach. She taught me. She believed in me. She's one of the few adults I can say that as a teen properly believed in me, because like in my first maths exam, I only got like a B. Okay, I say only. I know that sounds so crazy for people who haven't got that, but like, listen. Anyway, so she was like, I know you can do better. Like, she's like, I know you can do better. Like, she basically like properly like was like took me under her wing and was like, I'm gonna help you. She would mark my extra exam papers that I would do like in my own time, because I was like, I loved maths. Like, I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? I really enjoyed it. The only like I know this sounds bad, but like, so in terms of revision, I revised the subjects I liked. And the ones I didn't like, I didn't really bother to revise. I'll be so real. But anyway, so she was like, I think you can do this. I think you can do better, etc. And then, so she basically, what was I going to say about her? Yeah, she was the one who taught us. Whenever we would have a new topic, she used to do something that I haven't seen done very often. And she basically was saying that what she would do is she wouldn't tell us how to do the questions. She would give us the questions and she would give us an opportunity to learn how to do it. And she'd always say, it's best, the best way that you'll remember how to do this is if you figure out how to do this by yourself, right? And lo and behold, was this woman right? She was so right. I would learn, because then she would put it on the board. I wouldn't necessarily know what to do, but we would sit there and we'd figure it out. And then she was amazing, and she was such a good teacher, and she taught me something that, like, sometimes in life, like, being given the space, or rather the pressure of having to have the space, but then also the time, but also somewhat of a finite time, but not so strict, will bring the best out of you. And so I guess that's my final advice to you guys, is that yes, life is finite. We only live for so long. We're not going to be here forever. Yes, certain things have to be done by a certain time. But sometimes, and a lot of the time, rushing isn't going to actually make your time get quicker. Rushing is going to make you take more time. Sometimes taking that breather, taking that moment at the beginning is actually what you need to be able to get to the answer more quickly, if that makes sense. And it might not feel like that, but that's the truth. Sometimes taking that extra time, that extra moment, that extra like, okay, you know what? I'm overwhelmed. Okay, you're overwhelmed. You know what I say in that moment? Tear off the page, crunch it up, throw it away, start the question again, take your time, and start again. There's nothing to say you can't start again. And that's what I think is my advice. Like, as I've been saying it in my lessons, it's been resonating for me as a person, that like, I sit here and tell the kids all the time, take your time, take a breather, try again. Like, I'm telling them that it's okay and it's safe to do so. And I don't even give myself that opportunity, you know? So let's all do that, and let's take that advice. Sometimes the quickest route is actually to take your time. And on that note, if life's a game, let's play to win. God bless you all. God loves you. I love you. And see you in my next one.